Right, well, welcome to Pitching, Planning, and... Let's try that again. Pitching, Planning, and Passion. I am Dana Piccoli, and I have never given the workshop before, so I'm a little nervous, I will admit that. But I'm very, very glad that you all came here, and hopefully we can make some critics out of you, all right? Woo! Okay. So I know it's been a long couple days. All right, so I'm gonna give you a little intro here. Gonna read a couple stats. All right, now don't gasp because they're gonna be gasp worthy. But so according to USC Annenberg, which is it's a think tank at USC, their inclusion initiative, white female critics authored only 18% of film reviews, while underrepresented female critics, so we're talking women of color, queer women, wrote 4% of reviews. You see, I told you not to gasp. The number of non-binary and gender non-conforming is even fewer, okay? So what does that mean? And it means that for women, especially women of color, non-binary, and trans critics, we're not getting the chance to be part of shaping the narrative of criticism and in turn, entertainment at large, okay? Critics' voices are important, they're loud, people pay attention to them, studios pay attention to them. So if we don't have adequate representation, who is speaking for us and for our community? And that's where all of you come in. And I am, and gents, I am glad that you are here as well. So I just wanna, it was a little bit more lady focused on that part, I'm sorry. But anyone who has a thoughtful voice to add to the conversation is important. So thank you so much for all of you being here. So you may know me as a writer and a critic, maybe as a Fairy Gaymother, but I started out as a fangirl. I would write funny songs about Pretty Little Liars and put them on YouTube. And I thought that was just gonna be it. I really didn't expect anything out of it. But I was lucky that my community enjoyed what I was doing, and they passed it along to people, hint, 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 critics, who had a hand in shaping my early career. And I wasn't a published writer. I don't have any journalism background, anything like that. What I did have was a voice and a platform and a passion. And that was for LGBTQ representation, and it still is, particularly in television and film. So 7 years later, here we are, all of us together in this room. And now I'm still passionate about television and film representation and criticism, but I wanted to help nurture a new generation of critics, and that's all of you. Because Mama can't do this forever, okay? Mama's tired. So let's tackle this. I want you to be open to sharing ideas. I want you to be open to talking. If you don't feel comfortable, then it's okay. But I want you to feel good. So, why are you here today? Who wants to tell me why they're here today?
I guess I'll go. I'm currently training as a journalist, but what I find, especially even when they've been training me, they're not telling me how to pitch. They're not telling me how to try and really put the passion into my work that I know I want to put in. And of course it's not, when I told them that I was coming to this convention, they just said, oh, okay, we don't know what that is, but sure, go ahead, write about it, I guess. So it was a bit like, okay, this is like one of my big things for me. This is what I want to write about in the future. I'd love to write about LGBT issues and stuff. So it was, I just want to, I'm here for how to pitch and how to make sure I put passion into my work.
Fantastic. Anyone else?
I wouldn't mind being a journalist or a writer in my future jobs. That's what I'd mind to be.
And how can I ask you, how old are you now?
13.
13? I love it! Is this Dad?
Yeah.
Dad? Dad, I love you.
I'm a supporter.
Yeah. Yay, Dad! That, I just got chills. Like, I was just like, that's one of the most incredible things that I've seen here is teenagers with their moms, their dads, their uncles, their aunts. Like, that's so wonderful. So thank you, Dad. And I have a feeling you're going to be a fantastic journalist when you grow up. Anybody else?
I can go for it.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be a producer, and I know pitching is a big thing in film industry, so it's really good if I can get as many advices as I can on it. And I always get a bit nervous when I pitch in front of people, because I'm a film student in the university second year, and next year we have a pitching session in front of industry people.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, and you know, as a producer, you're going to be pitching to people like me too. So not only are you going to be pitching your stories and your works to, you know, studios and things like that, but you're going to have to get people like me on board with you who want to promote your work. So this good idea. Good idea. All right, I know. Come on. Yeah, yes.
I'm from Germany, and I feel like we do not have that much representation there, or like it's slowly swapping over that there is this Me Too issue too, and all this stuff. And I feel like I can learn from English-speaking people about this, and this is what I want to learn how to write about things. So yeah.
Terrific. Anybody else?
I currently do write reviews for film and TV, so it's just like getting better at it. That's essentially what I'm doing.
All right. Anyway, I thought you had your hand up.
Sure. Yeah, so I am a producer, and Dana has been a huge part of the success of many of my projects, and I'm here because it's an understanding that actually not only like content doesn't work, fans don't work in a vacuum. Like there's a massive ecosystem that goes to when you put a show out to having writers at all levels, and especially so when you're making things independently, and especially for an audience that is completely underrepresented, to report faithfully, to share, to be critical, to not give things a pass because you don't have anything, you know, to actually make sure things are good so that the standard is high. So I guess I'm here, apart from being like a massive Superman, to actually just to kind of find out what it is that you're looking for on really kind of basic levels. You know, because I'm still continuing, like I'm quite lucky, you know, I've career has gone up, but you know, pitching is still part and parcel of the job. So.
Well, pitching is putting yourself out there into the world, and it means you could get rejected, right? And nobody likes to get rejected. Do you know anyone who likes to get rejected? Because I sure don't. I still do, though. Sometimes it happens. But yeah, I mean, even the most experienced people, you're an extremely experienced person, do you get nervous sometimes? Yeah. So let's kind of get into the nitty gritty of this, and we're going to talk about pitching first, all right? So this is super important. Have examples, not just ideas, okay? It is not an editor's job to give you an idea. Now, some editors might come to you once you have established yourself. They might say, because I mean, I get people come to me and be like, Dana, can you write about such and such? I'd really just like your perspective on it. But like, I like Supergirl, right? Great. Editors want to know how you can talk about Supergirl in a way that the last 20 people haven't. Okay, so you don't want to come to an editor and say, I'd like to write about Supergirl. That doesn't help at all. It's great that you love that thing, but you need to narrow that focus down. That is the number one problem I see in pitches, is they're way too broad. We want special, you dig into the minutia, like what is it about Supergirl? Is there a character you want to discuss? Is there a certain element of that character you think is important? How does that relate to the larger picture? That is what an editor is looking for. That's what I'm looking for. Do your research. Check and see if your pitch has already been done. Okay, there are a lot, especially if you're interested in LGBT criticism in particular. Be sure to do this. I can't tell you how many pitches I have gotten, and I'm like, yep, Autostraddle did that last week. There aren't enough of us that you can't do a quick Google search on that particular topic. Try to have more than one pitch. If you go on with one pitch, you have far less chances of having that pitch accepted. If you've got 3 pitches, I might take 2 of your pitches. I might take 1. I may not take any of them, but you're gonna have a way better chance of getting me to accept, or any editor to accept your pitch if you go in with more than one idea. So try to fill spaces where things are missing. You're consumers of this, right? You're pop culture consumers. You love this. What are you not seeing covered? You know, just I was just talking with Shelby, who is a presenter here, and Shelby told me that there was an episode of a television show where it was super duper tropey, and they killed a lesbian, and then they killed the other lesbian, and she said nobody's been writing about it. So find those spaces where things are missing. So it means you have to be diligent. You can't just hope that something falls into your lap. You have to search it out, okay? Is this all making sense? Good? Okay, everyone looks a little bit like hungover, and except the 13-year-old. All right, so dealing with editors, and we're a fun bunch. Most editors get a lot of emails. They have a lot of deadlines. They have a lot of projects. So that doesn't mean you shouldn't follow up with an editor. Say you send them a pitch and you haven't heard from them in 2 weeks. If your pitch is more evergreen, and so evergreen means your article could be posted at any time. It's not particularly time sensitive. Most of the stuff you will be doing if you're in criticism will be time sensitive, but sometimes it's not. If it's not evergreen and you want to follow up, go ahead and follow up. Say, I just want to make sure you had a chance to look at my pitch. I've attached it again. Sometimes I lose emails. I can't tell you how many emails I have lost. And it's only when somebody has reminded me that they sent me a pitch that I'm able to go back and be like, oh, okay. So, but if you don't hear back from that editor after your second time, they probably just aren't going to go with your pitch. That's their way of telling you. It's not the nicest way of telling you, but it's their way of telling you. You can pitch that project again, though, to a different site or a different platform. And a lot of editors go on a pitch-by-pitch basis. So just because I haven't accepted your first pitch to me doesn't mean I'm not going to accept your pitch a month from now. So don't get discouraged thinking, oh, this editor thinks I suck or doesn't like what I'm doing. Give it another go. Take a fresh approach. Oh, don't pitch the same piece to multiple editors at the same time. We hate that. It's super awkward, especially since we all pretty much know each other in the industry. And please don't do this. Don't send things in block form. That means you're just sending one email to a person, and because sometimes people have forgotten to switch out things, they'll be like, "Dear Dana, I'd love to have you check out. I've loved your work at Autostraddle. I've never worked for Autostraddle." Okay, so they've probably sent that to Reese at Autostraddle, and they just forgot to take myself out. Just be diligent, okay? It doesn't take that much time to go through and write a personal note to say, "Hey Dana, I like your work at Bella Books. I think you might be interested in that sort of thing." Do your research about the site ahead of time. I have made this mistake. I have seen that a site has been looking for freelancers, and I'm like, oh, I'd like some work. I'm just gonna go ahead and just do as little as possible. Who is this? Little as possible. Don't they know I'm teaching a workshop right now? Just research the site, read a few articles, get a feel of the site, because some sites have a very specific angle. Like, for instance, Decider is a site in the United States. They only cover streaming stuff. So if you go to them and pitch a show, if you're like, "I'd like to talk about Grey's Anatomy with you, Decider," or, they don't do that. So they know automatically you didn't do your research, right? This is a big secret. I'm only telling all of you and whoever's going to be seeing this on camera. Most editors don't care about your resume. I don't care. Now, if you're trying to write for, the London Times or, Washington Post or something, then that's going to be a different thing. But if you're writing about criticism, if you're writing about pop culture, we care about the way you speak online, the way you communicate, the way you get your thoughts across. I have no journalism experience. Okay? And I was running the largest website for lesbians with Trish Bendix in the world. And I did not have any journalism background, okay? What they cared about was my passion, my commitment, my attention. to detail, okay? So, asking for money. You can usually find out if a site pays by asking, just like say, you're negotiating with an editor and say, you know, generally how much do you pay for these types of articles? And they're gonna come back and say, well, actually, we don't pay, or we do pay, or here's our rate, we'll do this for a listicle, we'll do this for an in-depth researched piece. So don't be afraid to find out if they pay. Just because you're starting out new doesn't mean you can't ask for it. Now, you can offer to work for free all you want. I encourage you to do that if that feels comfortable for you. I have worked for free plenty of times in my life to get some bylines under my belt. There are some really great sites out there that I respect a lot that don't pay their writers, but their writers are very passionate about the site and passionate about what they're doing. And they have built tremendous resumes and had access to celebrities and interviews that they would not have ordinarily. But that is 100% your choice. Don't let anyone ask you to work for free, okay? I want you to promise me all that. Don't let anyone bully you into working for free unless that is 100% your choice. Okay. Now, smaller sites, like my site, I can't pay a ton. I generally pay about $75 to $100 an article, which for LGBT is like, you know, middle of the road. But there are going to be some sites that are only going to pay you $25. If that's okay with you, that's okay with you. There are going to be some sites where I've done articles where they've paid me $350 for an article. It really depends on the sort of backing they have, where they're coming from. So just be aware, you're not going to be able to get $350 from a small, tiny site. But because I've had people go in and be like, offer me pitches and say, I'll do this for $250. I'm like, that is like my entire month's budget for freelancers. Like, I couldn't do that. So just be aware. Also, if it takes more than it should only take between 2 weeks to 3 months to get paid as a freelancer. If it takes any more time than that, something is weird. Something is wrong, okay? Don't be afraid to check in, to contact somebody, say, hey, I haven't gotten my payment yet. Do you need me to send you my information again? And it's only happened to me once with one site, but it happens, so just be aware. I'm just trying to prepare you to go out into the world, okay?
Can I caveat though, because
Yeah.
we're in the EU at the moment anyway. In some countries in the EU, it's a legal requirement. You have to be paid within, it's like 45 days, something like that.
Well, that's
So
great.
Each country, even if you're freelance, each country has its own kind of regulations around.
Gotcha. The U.S. doesn't give a shit. Sorry. I'm glad that exists because that's super important. But yeah, no, the U.S. doesn't care. So that's my perspective. Does anyone have any pitches that they want to share that we can all kind of hash out together? Oh, come on. I told you about this. Are you all shy?
We spoke with from Strong Female Leads podcast, and we had a guest on recently who just turns out to be a TV producer with a day job. That's not what she was talking about on it, was a fan and passion. But at the end of it, she said, your show is great. You should pitch it as a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
It's as like a reality show. And so we were like, yeah, that'd be a great idea. How the fuck do you pitch a podcast as a TV show? The only information we've got so far is you should really do a sizzle reel, which presumably something to do with bacon. But
Well, I will tell you, this might be more your speed. Because I don't actually pitch projects, or that is not my thing. But I mean, I'm familiar enough to know a sizzle reel is basically your best moments in a couple minute video, so you can shop that around to different investors, different studios and stuff.
But as an audio only podcast, that would be quite boring.
You better get used to being on film. Get some nice black jeans. Yeah, if you want to.
So I presume a pitch is a pitch really, whether because you're in front of someone. At some point, you're going to be either in front of someone or on the phone to someone, or maybe just sending an email, depending if it is pitching to something like the Mary Sue for
Right.
writing thing. And you kind of need to know what it is they're expecting. If you've never done it before, you don't know what they're expecting. And our editor, can you ask an editor, well, I'd like to pitch something to you, what sort of format do you like your pitches in?
Sure, yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely, you can certainly ask. Some editors are hardcore and they'll ignore you because they're like, well, you should already know, but most will be like, sure, no problem. You know, if you wanted to send something to me, I would tell you, like, give me these details, send me your links, I need your press kit, that sort of thing. So, yeah, don't be afraid to ask. I think that's totally fine. Yeah.
I have a question. How does it work? Because I didn't really know what the answer was to this. We were doing an interview series as part of a, which would have been like a series of interviews that were written and accompanied by video. And we, the kind of actors that we approached, their reps asked us for money to interview them. So, is that kind of standard? Under what circumstances might that
No.
be? Okay. That's what we said. We were like, no. But yeah, I didn't know whether that was because it might have. So we went back and forth as to whether or not it was the way that we formatted this, because we were just like, although there may be some video, it's not gonna go anywhere. So in the end, it's just long form like written interviews, which is fine. But they were still like, okay, for our client to take part or participate in this series,
Mm-hmm.
and it was on Brexit basically. What people thought they wanted compensation for their clients.
If they thought you were going to be making money off of it, then maybe that makes sense. But typically, no, you would never pay somebody to get the opportunity to interview them. They may have misunderstood the project. They may have thought that you were trying to make money off of their talent and they wanted a piece of the pie. But yeah, typically I've never had anybody ask me that. So, all right. So I know somebody's got a pitch. Come on. Be brave. Yes.
Okay, I don't know if that's, the planning is sort of missing, I think, but I told you before that I wrote my bachelor thesis about orphan black
Yes.
representation, and I want to make an ebook out of it, and I want to keep on writing about how orphan black sort of changed the way things are represented in general.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, maybe as Germany doesn't know anything about that kind of stuff, about anything.
Right.
I feel like they do not have specific magazines on television. There is a lesbian magazine, but it's not about television or something. It's just
Lifestyle.
yeah. And so there are television magazines, but they do not go deep in that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So how can I make them understand that it matters too?
Right. Okay. Good. That's a good question, actually. How do you make something fit? How do you get your point, your planning, your passion across to a site that maybe isn't used to it or doesn't really know what to do with it? So find out what, I would say, research what they do and try to create a way that your project works with them. So if their lifestyle, if they're more interested in, here's an example. You want to write about Orphan Black. You want to talk about the queer stuff. It's a lifestyle magazine, right? How the fashion and of Orphan Black has been influenced by the LGBT community, or how Delphine or how Cosima's style reflects, a segment of, you can find ways to make it match. You know what I'm saying? Now, maybe that's too frivolous and you don't want to bother with that. But if you want to get your foot in the door into some broader things and you still want to be able to open some minds in some ways, that's a great way. I was on a panel with a journalist, Agnès from France, and she works in a very conservative French newspaper, and she does graphics. She managed to get a cartoon graphic of a lesbian couple with a child in a graphic. They've never done it before. Now, it was this really small little thing, but there's going to be a couple out there with a kid or gay couple or a trans person who sees that and be like, whoa, for the first time, like I am actually seeing this. It's going to mean something to somebody. And it's normalizing this to the readers of La Parisienne, right? So that's completely up to you. You don't have to go that route if you don't want to, but there are ways that you can spin things if you really want to. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's important. I've had to be like, how am I gonna make this work, right? Yeah.
I would like to do something on Buffy.
Okay.
Because it was made a long time ago.
Stop it.
The representation in it matters still.
It does.
And that program actually helped me a lot.
Oh, I'm so glad.
And by that program, it helped my dad realise that I was bi. He kind
So
of.
it's the same episode.
I think I know which episode. Why have you watched Hush 17 times?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Okay.
I'd like to see how that representation was like one of the first lesbian couples on TV.
Okay.
And how it changed lives. I don't know if it changed others. But
Oh,
it did.
it really did.
Yeah.
It really did. So let me ask you this. We've talked about Buffy for the last 20 years. How are you going to talk about Buffy in a way that's different? Now, think about your strengths. Who are you? You're 13 years old. You're from England, right? You're English?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does being 13 and English, watching a show and loving a show and being changed by a show that ended over 10 years ago, like how is that something you can make work?
How that's affecting my lives still now.
That's a great idea, absolutely. And then use your own, if you feel comfortable, use your own personal experience with that. Or maybe something like this, how Buffy helped me come out to my dad, or how my dad and my relationship with my dad, I owe my relationship with my dad to Buffy. Like, something very like, because that's something I would read. Wouldn't you be interested in knowing that, right? Because your perspective is important, and your perspective is something I'm not used to hearing, right? I want to see that article. When you figure it out, I want to see it. Does that help you? Thank you. She is. I want to make sure. Am I getting your pronouns right? Do you use she, her, or you use they, them? She. She is brave, and she is 13 years old. She had a pitch for me. All right, since the rest of you are chicken. Oh, okay. I was going to say chickens.
This sort of been milling around my head. Why Sarah Lance is the most underrated character on CWTV.
I've seen something similar. Okay? But it's a good idea. But why and how can you take that general idea, twist it a little bit to make it a bit more personal, to make it a bit more like zero in on it. Like why is she, maybe even pitch it to me that way. Why is she the most underrated character? Sarah Lance is the most underrated character because
Why is she the most underrated?
Right. So think smaller. That's what I'm saying. Think smaller. But thank you. I appreciate that because I would love. Personally, I always like to read articles.
I definitely needed work. I just thought of it.
No, and that's what pitching is all about, right? I've been put on the spot by editors, be like, hey, just give me some of your pitches. Like, oh, and I totally bombed an interview once. I'll tell you about this. There was an opportunity to write for a site called IndieWire. So IndieWire was going to be doing this women in films vertical or something. It ended up like kind of falling apart, so it wasn't that big of a deal that I didn't get it. But I was one of the finalists for this, and I was still really green. I had only been writing for a bit. And the editor was asking me all these questions, and sure, I was passionate, but I was unprepared. And so when she asked me, I was doing really, really well. And then she was like, all right, so why don't you tell me some of your pitches? And I gave her the most broad nonsense pitches. And they were so just off the cuff, and I hadn't put the work into it and the effort into it, and I did not get the job. So just know I have done it. You will all do it at some point in time, but just be ready to shift your focus on the dime, right? Or a pence or whatever. What's a dime here? Is it a dime?
10p.
10p.
It doesn't have the same ring to
It doesn't. Switch your audience on a 10p. All right. So, we got okay.
Again, something just popped in my head, and this is, I just thought I'd bring it up because this is bigger, and obviously we need a lot of research, but it is, I guess, a question also as an unestablished writer, if it even makes sense to pitch something like that. GLAAD's latest report,
Okay.
featuring the CW,
Okay.
based on quantity alone. Bringing in the fact that it shouldn't be about quantity alone, it should be about quality.
That's a good idea. And I haven't seen this yet. Not somebody specifically focusing on the CW. Okay, you are on the road to a pitch.
Yeah.
Good job.
So not too big.
No, I think because you decided to, you broke it down in two ways, right? You took GLAAD report, you want to focus on the CW, and you want to focus on just because they have a number, that quantity doesn't necessarily equal quality. That's a good pitch. Good job.
I guess the bigger context is that I don't see a lot of talk about that when we talk about representation. It's all
Right.
how many lesbians, how many bisexual characters are there? How
Right.
many trans are there?
Are we just set dressings?
But
Right.
it's like it doesn't matter because actually when does representation is it really good representation?
Mhm.
But when does representation, because of negative stereotypes, tropes, cliches, actually turn into something detrimental?
I think you are so right there. You've got it. I think you should write that up, and I think you should pitch it to people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd love to. It's been on my mind for a while, and then this new report came out. I'm like,
Do it, and I would say do it as soon as possible,
Yeah.
so somebody else doesn't get the same idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else before we move on?
I mean, I'm not a journalist. I'm a writer.
Yet.
No, I'm a writer. I want to create film and TV.
Okay.
But something that I'm creating right now is probably a TV show. I don't think I'll be able to do a film. Is a supernatural TV show that features a young, unsure of sexuality girl in it who finds that she has a family that is supernatural. And would something, if I was hypothetically going to go on a journalist route, would something like that, if I'd made it and I came to you or just anybody and had a pitch of why we needed it as undeciding, and that she's not going to fall down the stereotypical route that we have with the gay trope of where she's just going to be a lesbian, where she's experimenting, because we don't have as much experimentation at the moment on TV,
Mhm.
and especially in the younger years. Is that something that is like a pitch that you would want?
So, yes, and I'll tell you this, just be mindful of your language about it, because there are people who are comfortable with their sexuality. You don't want to offend them,
Yeah.
and you don't want to make it seem like, as you were talking to me about it, I'm thinking of a way to phrase it that's like, what's the, like, just give me a name, a random name, like.
Melanie.
All right. Melanie, Melanie doesn't know what she wants, and that's 100% okay. You know, like, make it seem like I'm doing this for a reason, and the reason is because it's 100% okay. you know, and the fact that it's about a supernatural teenager or whatever, that's another angle. So you're gonna want to take I always feel that taking the positive route with something is always best. People tend to gravitate more towards positive articles. So explain to me, and maybe people that maybe wouldn't be interested in this or actually really would be interested in this, why they should read it. Because you're presenting somebody who's comfortable in their non-decision, in their nebulous sexuality, in their completely comfortable place of that maybe other people wouldn't be comfortable in, but they are, you know? Like, I'm totally into it. It's just, I think as a journalist, what you learn to do is, because I have offended so many people accidentally over the years, is just be mindful of how to include a full audience, especially in the LGBT community, because there's so many of us that feel different ways about things, you know? We are non-binary, we are genderqueer, we are cis, we are trans. How do we bring that whole community together to really relate to your story? Does that help at all? Okay. Okay, so let's go on to planning. Let me make sure what time we're working on. Woo! Time is flying. All right. Who here has been published before? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So the rest of you have not been published before, right? Don't worry. It's okay. It's all good. Find something you are passionate about. And I'm going to give you a homework assignment, okay? Find something you're passionate about and write 300 to 500 words about it. Let's say it's like an expanded pitch, because pitches are much shorter than that. You're not going to, please don't send me 500 word pitches. Oh gosh. But find that passionate project, write 300 to 500 words about it, and within that 300, 500 words, show your writing style, your voice, show how you can spell, and that you're grammatically correct in whatever language you speak. This is tough for a lot of people. This is tough, but ask for and graciously accept criticism. You'd be surprised how many of us keep our eyes on writers who are maybe not quite there yet, but are eager and who take advice and take criticism. I have seen some writers thoroughly blossom after they have received some constructive criticism, and they have come back to me with things that I'm like, wow, this is exactly what I knew you could do, but you weren't showing me quite yet. Okay? So don't feel bad. Take it as a learning experience. I know I get my wrinkles up when somebody criticizes me, but I often learn from it. And I'm not talking about some troll who's on the internet like, Dana, you suck, I hate your hair, it's to each his own on that. So don't ever be afraid of that, especially from a mentor. Don't ever take it personally from a mentor. They are trying to help you, okay? So if you come to me with something and I come back and say, I'm not crazy about this, here's how we could fix it. Let's work together on that. Just don't ever want you to, because I think you're all just proper amazing people, and I don't want to hurt any of your feelings. Sometimes writing for smaller sites is a really good way to build up your resume. They may not pay, but if you don't have any articles under your resume now, but a year from now you've got 10 or 15 from a site that you just really like working with, that's going to go a really long way. So you can't always start out getting $350 for a listicle. But if you start building yourself up, that's going to mean a lot. Is it so much easier for me for you to send me a link to something you've written and I can just look at it? But I have accepted links on Thesis. I have accepted links on Tumblr pages. Just show me that you know how to write, okay? Network. Oh yeah.
I did not quite get this. Is it easier for you to get a link, or is it easier for you to actually get a written?
No, so I love links. If you can start racking up some bylines, and it's worth it to you to put the time into something maybe that's doesn't pay you very much or doesn't pay you at all, like I said, 100% your choice. Having some bylines that an editor can look at, maybe you're taking that next step up, you want to work with somebody who you know will pay or has a little more cachet. Having some bylines that we can look through and say like, okay, yep, this person knows how to write. Look, they've already got a byline. That's going to be really helpful for you. Network. Y'all barely want to talk to me. You got to talk to each other, okay? You want to follow and converse with other writers and editors on social media. It's really important. I know when somebody doesn't know who I am. I know, okay? I know when they don't follow me. I'm telling you right now, if you pitch me and you don't follow me, I'm probably, unless you're a really good writer, I'm probably not going to take the time. Because it's about respect and it's about building a community, especially in LGBTQ criticism. Ask to join writers groups on Facebook. There's a bunch of them. There's Rainbow Binders, which is all LGBTQ writers and projects. There's like trans binders. There's binders full of women. There's like a lesbian writing. Like, search them out, figure it out, ask if you can join. That way you will get all sorts of tips on gigs and jobs, and you might find somebody who's looking for like exactly the sort of thing that you specialize in or really love to do. So, yes.
To what extent does someone's social profile or size of social profile matter, I guess, when they kind of come to pitch? So when I'm doing, I know if I'm doing stuff in digital video, for example,
Right.
That's part and part of the package.
Right,
and then,
right.
how you promote the article, the downstream promotion afterwards. But I'm just, when you're commissioning, how do you take that into account, etc.?
Personally, it doesn't really matter all that much to me. If you're not on Twitter, that's an issue for me. Like if you're not sharing, if I don't know who you are, if my readers can't find you to have a conversation about what you've written, that's a bit of an issue. But if you've only got 100 followers and you're an awesome writer, I don't care because I know that you'll have more followers soon. There are other sites that specifically will say we don't want pitches unless you have at least 5,000, 10,000 followers, but they're few and far between. There are some of the writers I respect the most in this world. I have 5 times as many followers as them. Doesn't really mean anything, you know? I just have a big mouth. And so I put myself out there. I'll just talk about anything. So all right, so the final part of this is passion, right? Are y'all passionate about something? Beret, I like you. So, I can't stress this enough. You have to find your voice, okay? Your individual voice. We all have one. But have you ever noticed the way that certain writers like love certain words, or the way they like turn a phrase or whatever, the way they speak to their audience, it connects with you. That's what you need to look inside yourself and figure out. Don't try to be somebody else. Nothing shows inauthenticity more than trying to imitate someone's voice. If you love, I'm just going to say me, but if you love Dana Piccoli's writing, don't try to be Dana Piccoli. Try to be you. Because your voice matters. That's why you're here. That's why I need you to be the next generation of critics, okay? Because your voices matter. And I get really tired of hearing my own voice. No, never. I don't actually. But that's what's important. So I have a friend and a writer who has written for me before, and she's technically so good, but she doesn't have any fun. When I read her stuff, I'm like, I could tell you didn't have any fun writing this. And so I send her back, say, go try look at this again and remember why you did this. And so she comes back with me, and it's technically perfect, and now she's actually having fun because I've been able to give her the confidence in saying, I know that you're a great writer, but just show me who you are in this. That's super important because otherwise we're just reading the AP, you know? I can also feel your nervousness in your writing. I can see your frustration. I want to see your thought process. I want to see how you get from point A to point B. And don't worry so much about failing or rejection that you lose all joy in what you are doing. That is not what this is about. If you are going to be writing about LGBTQ, entertainment, and pop culture, it's because you love it, right? Not because it pays well. God knows. Not because it pays well, but because you love it and you care about it and you want to be a representative for it. You want to lift other people up, right? That's what our goal is. Like, I want to lift you up and I want you to lift up other people. So, do you have pen and paper? Do you have a phone? Anything you have something to write with? Okay, ready? Write this down. Dana, that's D-A-N-A, Piccoli, that's Piccoli, at yahoo.com. I know it's basic. I couldn't get Dana Piccoli on Gmail because there's a beauty queen in New Jersey who already has that. That is my personal email address. That is not the one you'll just find randomly online. That is my personal email address. You can reach out to me with questions. I'm here to help you. If you want me to take a look at your pitch, if you want me to, hey, I wrote 500 words, like you asked me to, like, can you take a look at it? Or I'm not really sure where to go, I feel stumped. I am here for the next year to be your mentor. I said that very, very American, mentor. Your mentor. If you want me as your mentor, I am here to help you, okay? Okay, does that make you feel a little bit better? Yeah. Oh, now you're finally talking. And it's only time to leave. Any questions? Yes.
How long would you want a pitch to be normally?
Couple sentences.
Okay.
Yeah, doesn't have to be long, doesn't have to be crazy. Oh, I'm sorry? Oh, so articles really, that depends. Ask the editor what sort of word, so this is important. What's the word limit? What is the word limit? Most articles are going to be probably between 500, depending on what is like a small listicle or something, might be 500 to 1,500. After that, it gets really arduous. So that's probably your sweet spot is 500 to 1,500. Okay? Any other questions? Yeah.
Do editors like looking at quite taboo subjects or people that like writing with a strong opinion?
Yeah, it really.
Not an argument. It's like this is how I feel. Maybe angry or like.
Angry? You're angry right now.
No, I like writing things that are quite.
Okay, so you're a shit stirrer, and that's totally fine. Sorry, I don't think they said that. That goes into the research part. You need to make sure you are pitching that to the right places. There's so going to be places that love it. And there's going to be places that are like, oh, this is not our thing. And you don't want to alienate those places in case you want to write something later that is not going to be as controversial. But yeah, that controversy equals hits. That's, yeah, you're good. Anybody else? Yeah.
What advice would you give for a new writer?
Just write. Like, I started out doing a lot of recaps, and recaps really helped me get an understanding for TV shows. Why don't you start writing some Buffy recaps, just for yourself, or maybe even just for your friends? Put them on your Tumblr, just to get yourself in the mindset. But just write about what you're happy about, what makes you excited, or what pisses you off, maybe. I mean, I'm sure there's things that upset you or frustrate you. Use your voice. Start developing who you are. I mean, because you're 13, you still have worlds to grow, right? But you have a heart and you have a passion and you have, thoughts. Start using them. I can't tell you how much I appreciated all of you coming here. Thank you. And I'm happy to chat afterwards out there if you want to come up. All right, thank you again. I really appreciate it.